What is up? We're out here doing episodes. We're out here doing episodes. As you can see on this table, this episode is an episode I've wanted to do for so long because it's making a mess on my driveway. And my steering kind of sucks. And let's not blow up this rack because rather than spending $250, $300, going through whatever Rock Auto or 1A Auto or whatever websites claims that they have racks, why not rebuild it? It's not that hard. I've done the research and we're gonna film every bit of this because there's not a single YouTube video that exists on how to do this. I laid out all the parts in this kit. I got this kit from Rock Auto. Here's the part number, kinda. Came with this, not really an instruction manual. I was just looking through it to verify all the seals. So I'll kind of go over everything. If you look on your rack, on the RX7 steering rack, you have what's known as a control valve assembly. This is like the heart of a lot of things. So it has its own dust cover. Following that dust cover, there's gonna be a snap ring, and we'll see that when we take everything off. There's gonna be a seal here, and there's gonna be these 4 seals that go on the control valve assembly, these 2 seals at the bottom, and then lastly, there's gonna be this guy. There's gonna be a bearing in between this seal and the snap ring, and we'll see that. We actually might be replacing the bearings, so I'll provide the part numbers for all the replacement bearings. There's only 2 bearings if I recall. And in the center of the shaft, like so, you have 2 seals, and there's also a washer. This diagram does not have the washer, but I'll insert an image so you see it. And then you have the seal ring. So essentially, this would go on the driver's side, facing this way, like so. You have this guy in the middle, and this guy facing the passenger side. But this guy on the passenger side actually will be going on the rack bushing. So that's for your rack bushing, don't forget that. On your rack bushing also, there are gonna be O-rings that come in the kit. And as you can see, there's a small, medium, and large one. To my knowledge, I don't believe this guy's gonna be used. From my research, this bottom O-ring actually will go to the bottom side of the control valve assembly. So we'll go at the bottom. There's gonna be an O-ring at the bottom of this guy. And that's all your O-rings and whatnot that you need in the kit for the control valve assembly. This part will go on the shaft, as I mentioned, but on the passenger side, for the control valve assembly, there is this O-ring that will go on there like so. And lastly in the kit, it has these 4 O-rings that go for, that are for the hard lines on the rack, for the pressure lines. You also do have a new locking, whatever it is. I guess it's for the like adjuster, the end of the rack that locks everything into place. So it comes with this, and we will fight taking it off. I know that for sure, and I'm probably gonna be losing brain cells trying to put this back on. But, oh, and it also comes with the nut. This nut is torqued in a very particular way. I don't think it's a torque to yield nut, but this goes at the bottom of the pinion assembly, and I'll be showing you guys how to actually torque that properly, because if you don't do that right, you won't be in trouble. But learn with me, got this. And I'm gonna pull the rack out of the car and clean her up, disassemble it. I'll show you the disassembly process and how to, tear apart the rack. But oh yeah, and also I got brand new rack bushings. They're on their way. Got them from Amazon. Put the link for that. And I got new steering rack boots. So I'm pretty stoked about this. Mine were like really thrashed, like far gone. Like the rubber was no more. It's just torn apart. So new steering rack boots. Here are the part numbers for these right here. I believe they're different. Driver and passenger side ones are different. So those are the part numbers in case anyone needs that. And yeah, we'll actually get to removing everything off the car, bringing it in the basement, and building this thing. So pulling out the rack, I don't even think you're able to tell, but the steering rack is hella leaky. If you look at the boot,
don't think it's supposed to have ATF in it. That's wonderful. It's so wonderful. Oh my lord. Yeah, this thing's smoked. Fucking seal's leaking so bad. Holy Christ, I kid you not. We are in day 3 of this. Literally trying to remove the rack. I had to suffer for this view. If you literally look right there, that bolt and nut is still there. But at least now I have the space. I literally had to like bend the lines on the rack and kind of maneuver it over. But the rack is out. We got to rebuild this guy. I made a mess. This thing it's a whole story in itself. But I'm gonna clean up, put the car back on the ground. I had to take off the front sway bar. I gotta find the bracket for one of the sides because I think it fell. Yeah. So I'm gonna store everything away. It's kind of getting warm. All right, I got my steering rack here. As you can see, there's ATF all over this table, so be prepared for this to be messy. There's the 2 lines over here. So I took off the lines. They're 12 mils. I highly recommend using a flare nut wrench. So don't use one of these guys. This is not, you're gonna probably strip it. You don't want to strip these because they're very, very unique flare. We're gonna start disassembling this. I'm gonna try my best to film this in a way where you guys can see everything. Another thing is I did take off the outer tie rods or the inner tie rods. Do this in the car. Take that off in the car. I use a tie rod removal tool, if I can find it. I use a tie rod removal tool to do that, but please take that off. It will make your life so much easier. Doing it out of the car, I needed another person to take that off. And that's all I've done so far. So I definitely want to have this video as thorough as possible. I'm probably not going to take off these fittings. I'm going to see if I can get away with that for now. So I'm just going to leave the fittings in here. But we're going to kind of start disassembling everything and going from there. So I'm going to prop up the camera in a way where you guys can see everything and then go from there. So we're already off to a pretty bad start. This adjuster requires a pretty big crescent wrench or a 30-something mil. I have no idea exactly what size this is. So I gotta go run to the store or figure something out to crack this open first. And then following that, this 14 mil, we'll pull that guy off. Then there's a 21 mil that goes at the bottom, zap that guy off, and then we'll head over to the valve body assembly. But I might have to go to the store real quick, and it's a Sunday. Bruh, that was so difficult. Now it's spinning. What the heck? That sucked. Okay. Now that this guy is loose, what we are gonna do, spin this guy off, like so. And then we take our 14 mil, spin this guy around. This is our adjuster, by the way. And you probably should organize your parts. It might play in your favor. So now that this guy's off, bring it down just like that. There is now falling a spring in there when you take that off. So I am organizing everything exactly how it all comes out. So I think that's it for that portion. So that's nice. Let me just put this to the side so I can actually show you guys how everything comes apart. At the bottom of the rack, and I'll flip it, there is this right here. Take a 21 mil. This is actually 5/16. I'm a little lazy right now. So we'll use what is in front of us. So just used a hammer and that way.
Now that that is loose, we can actually take that off pretty easily. Awesome. So that's off. If you remember in the kit, there was a nut that came with the kit. That's that nut. That's torqued in a very particular fashion. And it also has a bearing underneath it too, as you can see. I'm gonna have to go get my impact, most likely, to actually take that off, which is whatever. All right, so now that the rack is completely bottomed out, boom, that is loose. It's wonderful. This is so messy. You gotta make sure you have a bucket, or if you're doing this outside, do it on the grass, because this is a really, really, really nasty job. All right, cool. So that's the bottom of the valve body assembly. And now that we have freed up those particular components, we can actually take off the valve body assembly, which is great. I think I am going to have to clean up this mess before I even film any further. But, oh God. Okay, let the box fall. This is where we're going to start to take off that valve body assembly. So what we can do is just take a pick, I believe there is this dust cover, and this dust cover. This dust cover doesn't really have life in it, and is actually being incredibly frustrating to pull out. I mean, hey, the dust cover was definitely sealing, so that's wonderful. There we are. There we are. Pried it forward, and now the dust cover is off. Beautiful. Beautiful. I'm stoked. So now that we have our dust cover off, put that aside. We're not reusing that. There's a C-clip in here. You probably maybe see it. Maybe I can give you a closer up shot close, but you can see the two prongs there. I need to go get my contraption to pull that off, because I don't know if I have everything I need for that. Okay. I got a relatively half decent trashy C-clip tool. It kind of looks like this guy. And if I'm lucky, right now my luck with tools isn't so lucky. I might be able to pull out the C-clip without suffering, but yeah. Yep. Yeah, this tool sucks. All right, after all that suffering, the C-clip is out, which is beautiful, which is so great. Following that, there is another seal, but I actually am a little unsure of how this all comes off. So I'm gonna give the valve body, remember where we took off the nut at the bottom? I'm gonna give it a light tap and see if that, actually use this punch here. I happen to have a punch. I just don't want to destroy the threads or anything like that. We'll be able to tell, yep, it is coming forward. So you want to hit it from the bottom, and just like that, that is our entire valve body assembly that I was talking about earlier that we will be rebuilding. And just remember, there was that nut at the bottom of it. And it has all our O-rings that we are going to have to replace on this unit. So on the passenger side of the rack,
there is a locking guy over here. You might be able to see it right here. I believe there's a very unique way to take this off. Now, I've seen people use flatheads and all sorts of contraptions, but to my knowledge, you need to push it all the way out. So you see how the shaft is facing the passenger side? We need to push it all the way back out, just like that. When we do that, what some people do is they take a flathead like this and they spin it. They spin it in a way. This flathead actually isn't gonna work. I need something actually with a skinnier profile, which hopefully I have. If anything, if I don't have that, I'll actually use like a wrench to take it off. So I'm gonna try to spin it first and see where that brings us. I believe this piece is locked up from the factory. Ouch. Ooh, it spun a little bit, so that's good. Is this the best way to do it? Absolutely not. Cool. So I just spun it. And the way I spun it is I spun it facing the direction you just saw. So like treat it as a bolt, you're tightening it. And then when you spin it like that, what you want to do is spin it now in the other direction, because what happens is as you spin it, now it's protruding outwards. As you can see, it's tough to see, but I'll try my best to show you. So as you can see, now it's sticking outwards because it was locked in. So we just work it out, right? So that's all you have to do. You don't need to use a pick or anything like that. I was completely wrong about that. So I am just gonna spin it using this guy. My hands are so slippery. And as you can see, as I'm spinning it, that guy is coming out just like that. So I'm gonna keep doing that until it's out. It's a whole procedure. And what's gonna happen is, now that you have it out pretty much all the way, you can actually pull it out and it comes out exactly like this. So we have that completely pulled out. Cool. That can come out. So this is the rack bearing, or the rack support on the passenger side. Or that's actually not the rack support on the passenger side. That's the cap piece. And I'm going to carefully try to push the rack out, maybe? Let's try to do it from the driver's side. To my knowledge, I might need to hammer this out in order to get this whole unit out. Hammer it, and you'll feel it let go. So that's, as you can see, the front of it move. And as I take it out, we have that passenger side seal I was talking about, our center seal. That's the whole shaft. So that's great. We have that out, just like that. So another thing I wanted to mention, and I forgot to take it out with a magnet, but it's fine, is on where the adjuster was at. You have to take out the support or the rack support. So I just use my middle finger to push it out, and yeah, we got that guy out. So that's another part to the process. Just don't forget about that. I know S5s are a little different and might have like a ball bearing in them. I don't see like a ball in it of any sort, but I might have to inspect this a little closer just to make sure that it's all good. So now that we have most of the rack disassembled, you'll notice if I try to zoom in, there's an oil seal on there. There's also a center support, so we have to take that out of the rack too. It's gonna be a little bit of a pain in the butt, but I'm gonna try to film that too and show you how to get that. We'll learn how to get that out. I'll try a 19 mil, but a 3/8 socket. Okay. Ooh. Okay, so I think I hear something coming out, and yeah, just like that. So when you hit it from the driver's side, you got this washer, like so, and the seal. We got it out. So that was a lot simpler than I thought. Beautiful, beautiful. We're gonna lay that down. And then we have that seal that I ripped off. We have this rack support piece here. And the part that I'm actually going to have to probably use a roll pinch for is here on the passenger side. So I'm gonna try to get it as best as I can, but as you can see right there, you're probably gonna have to punch this out so you can slide this out. So as you can see, it gets caught. So I'm probably gonna have to do that to get this piece off, but that's fine. Just make sure you have roll punches to do that. So yeah, I'm gonna probably punch this off camera, make sure we don't lose that piece, slide this guy out, and we're gonna get to cleaning all the parts up and replacing the seals. So I am going to try and take out, I don't think this is the correct punch size. This says, I don't even have the label because it's like completely scorched off, but we're just gonna try to use, no, that is not the right punch size, so. Let's just pray. This is probably too big, but at least it will allow us to slide off that support. Wow, I didn't really even have to punch it. I just had to kind of push it up. So as you can see, that was pretty easy to take off. So we have that guy off, and what I'm gonna do is we're gonna take advantage of a very important tool for the job, which is one, a razor blade. So make sure you have a razor blade. And then we're gonna go back to our handy dandy picks and just like that, that seals out. So we are going to be throwing out a lot of stuff, and I'm going to pretty much take all the stuff that needs to be replaced and throw it aside, because we're replacing a lot of this. On this piece right here, we took it off, of course. There's the other one on the rack. There's also an O-ring here. Let's see, I'll just take a pic to it. Oh
Lord. Put that aside as we're gonna be replacing the O-ring on this piece here. And then this is where the razor blade comes in handy. On the valve body over here, pretty much there's going to be a couple of these guys that we're just gonna have to cut off. So I'm gonna do that. And the last of the seals that we do have to replace that we will be getting rid of, this is center guy right here. So I'm gonna take that off, make sure I'm not in our way. I'm just gonna cut it. We are. Boom. There we go. That's every seal that needs to be removed and replaced. And we're gonna go through our kit, check out those seals that were in the kit, and reassess which ones actually need to be used in the kit. Seems to be that, I don't know if it's different between S4 and S5. This is my first time doing it, but this is relevant for S4 3-port racks. So yeah, let's pull out the rebuild kit. So now that we have everything laid out and we have a better idea of what we need for our rack, we know that these two O-rings aren't going to be touched, so we're going to get rid of that. And we know these two, the small and medium, won't be used. This will go on the rack support. Those four will go on the valve body. These seals are all for the valve body. These technically go on the rack, and that's the one that we had on there. And then, as I said, these all will be used. That being said, let's put on all the seals that we need and get it all up and going. All right, cool. So I think the first seal, which is probably the easiest one, we're gonna deal with this passenger side guy right here. So as I said, there was only one O-ring in the kit. It was that one single O-ring, and I'll insert an image of which one it was. So we will just wrap this guy around like so. And then following that, there were the two seals, one for the driver's side, one for the passenger side. In this kit, they have the little green guy. So we'll just put it in, even it out by hand. So I am able to do this by hand, which is great. And no need for a socket or anything like that. Just getting it in even, and it's sitting, seems to be sitting flush, so that's great. Cool, that part's done. Then what we'll do is we'll actually attend to the valve body portion. So this guy, as you saw, there were the 4 seals that came in the kit. Let's move all this stuff aside. 4 seals in the kit. I'm going to, I heard that I probably should be incredibly careful. So I'm actually probably going to try to go from the bottom to the top, maybe. This actually, if you're not careful, I guess, they very much easily can, so I'm just doing this by hand, very, very carefully, so we don't destroy the seal or nick it. So we got the first one in, and I guess I'll just do it on camera to show you guys. Wow, this
boom. We got all our seals. We're gonna lubricate all of them. There is a last one that technically goes on the top of the bearing. I forget the orientation that goes on, but it is this guy, if I recall. No, it's actually, I think it went at the bottom like this. I have to double check actually. Now that I remember, now that my memory is not too thrashed, this guy actually goes at the top like this. And at the bottom, if I recall, this guy, so the gold side, goes at the bottom like this. Just like that. So I was questioning if there's a seal that goes there. The answer is yes, but that seal, it's gonna be so hard to see. Oh Lord, maybe you guys can see it. There's a seal in there on the outer body that we gotta remove from this. So I'm gonna use like picks and flatheads and see if I can push it out. I'll be right back. And this is why it also pays to pay attention. Remember how I said, whoa, what are these 2 O-rings in the kit? I just pried my finger up and this guy came up, and those are those 2 O-rings. So we also need to replace those. So I was fighting with the seal that I was talking about, but we are also going to replace those O-rings. If I can find them. Not sure what that's about, but let me look for that. It should be somewhere in the kit. All right, so instead of stressing myself out over that seal, how about we do something else? So obviously we got all this, we've achieved getting rid of these. This blue guy needs to go to the center and wrap that guy around the shaft like so. My one hand, I suffer for you guys. I suffer for you guys. Okay, I'll be right back when this is on. This is annoying. All right, she's on. Nice, we have ourselves a shaft. I just kind of put everything where it needs to be, including that washer thingy and the seal. So that portion of the rack is rebuilt. This is technically rebuilt, but we still have to pull out that seal. I took a 14mm socket and I took out the bearing that was underneath here. So 14mm socket and extension, did that off camera. We're gonna replace that bearing because that guy is pretty shot. Yeah, like beyond shot. It's smoked. It's smoked. So I know the part number that I'll put on camera, so I'm gonna order a new one and then fight with that seal tomorrow. I made a mess. That's a given. It's a sad story, but you know, I think we made really good progress today. I can't complain. I really can't complain. I'm happy. After a lot of flathead action and hammer action, we have the last seal out. God, it's gonna be really weird to tell you how I got this out, but I just hammered on the outer edges all around and kind of folded it with a flathead to get the seal out. And now I have to clean the inside of that. So yeah, try not to touch the bearing in there because that bearing is unobtainium and there's no part number to it, no reference to it. And I don't even know how it would come out. It looks like a very, very particular bearing. So I'm just gonna clean this up the best I can real quick. And everything there is all good to go back in the rack.
but I'm gonna have to grease the ever living hell out of everything because everything's relatively dry. So all the O-rings and whatnot, I'm just gonna grease up, including the shaft too. And I'm gonna clean this up. And I'm probably gonna try to press in the seal instead of leaving it on the valve body, as you can see right there. This camera's kind of sucking right now. All right, so I am working on cleaning up this part of the rack. Oh my Lord, this camera sucks. I'm working on cleaning up this part of the rack. As you can see, I kind of messed up the bearing, so I try to repair it a little bit. We'll be fine. I did decide that we are going to assemble the valve body with all the seals. So as you can see, upper oil seal, the 4 new O-rings we put on here, and then this section that was stuck in the rack that we replaced with 2 O-rings, and the bottom seal that I was talking about, like this. So this actually comes off, if I can do it with one hand. As you can see, that piece actually comes off like this, so you can actually snap it into place. If I can get it. Bear with me 1 second. All right, snap that guy into place. You need 2 hands for that. And then this seal, just remember, goes in this direction, like so. And yeah, you need to lubricate everything up with ATF before installing it. But I'm actually gonna paint the rack and prep that all up. As you can see, I kind of sanded it. So I'm just gonna do that off camera, and then we're gonna reassemble the rack. So nice. I might have to take these fittings off, and I'm thinking about doing a conversion to like braided or like new rack lines. I'm trying to come up with something, but so far so good. All right, I got the rack pretty much all cleaned up. Try to clean it up the best I could. What we are going to do, I lubed up all the seals already. So we are actually going to install the shaft. As I said, everything's all lubricated, all the seals. So we're gonna start from the passenger side of the rack with everything that we have here assembled like so. So I'm gonna actually try to snake it all through. Jeez. There we go. Just gave it a little bit more action so it could go through. So now that we have that all together, we can also rotate the shaft. Like so. So that's great. The next thing is the valve body assembly. So if you remember, this guy can rotate. We're probably gonna have to rotate this to get the valve body assembly to go in place. So I'm going to try my best to install that. Snap that back into place. And this. You need to run the valve body through. And as you run the valve body through, everything actually needs to line up. So I believe, I actually really don't remember the direction in which the shaft should go. So you gotta kind of move the shaft as you go. Here we are. So the teeth on the shaft need to be facing this like this backwards when installing it. So just be cognizant of that. Right now, I pretty much have it completely bottomed out, which is rad. I might have to, I might hammer it. Just to make sure it's all the way through. All right, so after a lot of finagling, I got the oil seal down where it should be. The issue was that when I removed it, the bearing that's at the top was like raised a bit. So what you do is actually take the rack stopper, and I took the rack stopper because it was the perfect diameter above the bearing. And then I took a socket and I just hammered it so that it sat flush where it should be. So now that the bearing's there, the oil seal is deep enough. I'm gonna try to pull the seal off to show you guys. So if I can pull this seal off, it's kind of annoying to pull it off. I'll show you exactly like what the bearing looks like. Then you could literally use one of the parts literally as a tool. So that's actually wonderful. Figure that out. So I wasn't able to get that out. I didn't want to pull the whole valve body out, but if you have enough common sense, you know what a bearing looks like and exactly what I'm talking about. But yeah, once you drive that enough, if you notice your oil seal, like you can't get your snap ring in, do that, put the dust cover on. So that's all good to go. I did torque this down. I didn't actually torque it down with a torque wrench, but I got it as tight as I possibly can. I'm gonna have to torque it in a very particular manner alongside with this guy too. Oh my Lord, this camera. So we are going to do that last, actually. The next step is actually putting in the rack stopper on the passenger side, the little tool that I said that we used. So I'm gonna drive that in like so. Just remember that it's this side, it's facing outwards towards the hub. And I'm probably gonna suffer doing this. I know that for a fact, putting in that clip or the new clip that came with the kit. So I'm gonna quickly consult the factory service manual. So I'm showing you guys how to do this properly, and then we'll go from there. All right, so hopefully I have enough common sense skills. What I did is I put the rack stopper in. It's simple, you just push it down with your hand. And if you notice, there is a hole, just like this. If you don't see the hole, just continue spinning the rack stopper like so, till you get to that hole. And then what we are going to do is we're gonna take our new guy, we're gonna take the curved end, and that curved end, what we're gonna do is we're just put it in like this. And then I'm gonna take, if you don't remember, I actually used one of these to remove it, and I'm gonna do exactly that. So we're going to spin it in this direction. So just give me a sec here, make sure you get it flush. And I'm going to lift it up a bit so I can show you. And you just spin it. It's kind of annoying to do this. Oh Lord. So we're almost there. Boom, just like that. And you don't want it to be showing. So that's
like you have a pretty good view. I'll actually move you guys a little closer so you can actually see what's going on as I do it. And we're locked. We're locked, folks. We're locked. All right. Now that we have ourselves pretty much a rack that's mostly assembled, there's a few things that we have to attend to. So this adjuster guy right here, we need to put it on in the rack. I actually took it out so I can show you guys. I did grease this up. Please make sure to grease it up. Grease it up, go crazy with it. I'm using like friggin' lithium grease or whatever, like polyurethane grease, because it's what's here. So if I have issues, we know why. So put it in there, and then don't forget your spring. This is super important. Now, the part that I'm actually about to attend to is a very controversial part. Now, people say that the torque spec for this is 14 foot-pounds, and you gotta do it till you kind of feel it touch. So the torque spec from the factory is 14 to 22 foot-pounds, but this isn't ideal. And I did read something on a forum pretty much saying that you kind of want to tighten it till you feel the bolt touching, and then back it off by 20 to 30 degrees. So I'm going to push this spring down. It's actually really tight. Boy. So I'm doing it by hand just because I don't. Okay, cool. So like we have the threads slightly in. Now, this whole bolt touching thing is kind of a little confusing to me, and I don't know if I'm gonna feel like a lot of resistance. So I'm just gonna kind of keep going till I start feeling resistance. If I don't, we're in trouble because I don't want to preload this spring a crazy lot. And this is the tricky part. Again, that whole torque spec is kind of goofy. So there's some resistance here. As you can see, it's like a little tougher to turn with my hand. So I can try the whole OEM torque spec, and I'm going to do that. I'm gonna do that if my tools are like a mess, because usually they stay in my RX7, but because I am working in the basement, I kind of gotta move stuff around. So I know I do have a torque wrench here. This torque wrench looks like it's from the Titanic. An alternative. All right, that's 14 foot-pounds. And I'm gonna use my handy dandy eyes and do what I think is 20 to 30 degrees. This is 45, so. That's about 30 degrees. Boom. It's about 20 to 30, good enough. And then remember this guy, the cursed guy. We'll throw him back on. And I'm gonna just try my best to do it all by hand before fully locking it. Now, obviously it would be easier to get the right socket, but I'm literally not ever gonna use that socket for anything else. Cool, I think that's tight enough. It should be tight enough. So the locking nut is on there. Lastly, there's the pinion nut. I'm gonna try to move you guys over so you can see that pinion nut. I believe the pinion nut, at the bottom over here is a 17 mil.
So the torque spec for that one is 14 to 22 foot-pounds. I'm going to go somewhere in the middle. I just like, yeah, you have to just be careful with these torque specs. So let's do 18 foot-pounds, I would say. I like to just go somewhere north of the middle with the OEM specs. So we'll do 18 foot-pounds for that. Just because I feel like this torque wrench does read better higher. So when we do that, oh Lord, the shaft is gonna move just like how we removed it. So just keep going. And this is where it gets kind of annoying for me, at least, just because, boom, torque down. Beautiful. And then lastly, you have this guy. I believe it was like a 21 millimeter that goes at the bottom of the rack. Ideally, you want to probably put some PTFE tape on here. And just start to thread it by hand. So I'm gonna tighten that guy down, and we pretty much have ourselves a rebuilt RX7 Series 4 3-port rack. The last thing, obviously, is putting on the hard lines. As I talked about earlier, I don't really have to explain how this all goes back on, but if you remember in the rebuild kit, it comes with new O-rings for it. So obviously replace that while you can if you have them off. And that's really it. I'm not gonna fully torque this down because I probably should put some thread sealant on it. But hopefully you guys found this enjoyable. That's rebuilding an RX7 rack. I'm so sorry about how trashy this filming has been. Don't worry, we'll work on improving that. I need to get my camera back. So yeah, good old iPhone 13 Pro footage. You guys have a wonderful one.